a full reconstruction after an injury in the Super 10 final. 14 months almost today since he's been back in the Australian colours, and I'm hoping he has a big one, I can tell you. Not just because he's Australian, but because you want to see the best rugby players, and he was one of the best before he was injured. We just hope he comes back with the same form and entertains everybody that enjoys rugby.
Well, that's a true statement, that as well, but the combination with Jason Little has always been something to be revered throughout the world. Both still young enough to make a huge contribution to Australian and international rugby. Australia will have the kick-off as the referee and his touch judges await the signal.
Yes, looks like the Canadians have won the toss and have elected to receive the ball. Australia will run with the aid of, I guess, a slight breeze at their back, but they won't make much of a difference. And you can expect the Australians to start off very aggressively, I can tell you that. I spoke to the coach, Bob Dwyer, and he was disappointed at that aspect of the game against the Box. It'll be a fiery start, let me tell you.
Australia will look to continue to dominate the lineouts. They were impressive in the lineouts against South Africa. And Canada, who played Romania last week, that was the one area of their game, despite their victory, that they were very poor. So Australia will have a useful platform if they can secure the possession from Warwick War and John Eales in particular. But watch out for those three tigerish loose forwards. Lots of experience. Tim Gavin, Ili Tabua and Willie Offa-Ngowi, big strong men working tigerishly in the rucks and mauls. Truly international event if we look at those two touch judges from two different parts of the world, one from France and one from the United States. Michael Lynagh, big role for him, captain today. That's the start. It's a short kick that. Offa-Ngowi is in there. Oh, knock on coming from Australia first and foremost.
A much better start to Australia. They were sadly lacking in the kickoffs against the Box, and they worked on that part of their game, and really Tabua straight through there onto the high ball. Unfortunately, it didn't come Australia's way, but at least they contested it.
Well, Australia have a stronger, heavier pack of forwards than Canada, so pressure will come in the tight scrums as well. That's all facets of the game that we've covered. Well taken at the back by Matt Burke. Australia will want to release. If they don't get it, they will have the advantage of the scrum put in. This is Lynagh's kick across field. David Lougheed back with Scott Stewart. See a fair bit of kicking from both sides just to settle himself down, but this is Campese looking to find space. He finds it. Australians getting there quickly in numbers, and very important that too, but one of the great Australian hallmarks is denying the opposition the ball and playing against a more mediocre team. One feels that Australia will want to control all facets of the game and keep the ball in hand.
It's a nice start by David Campese. A mistake with the game that he would have been disappointed about his last start, but the ball in hand there, a well-judged little chip over, and looks like Campo's on today.
Well, he almost gets bored if he doesn't get the ball and looks for work and drive through there by the Australians. That's good quality possession for them. Lynagh, lovely switch to Jason Little. That's the only way to tackle him, that's around the ankles. Tabua, solid players. Warwick War carries on that move. Slattery gets sucked into that ruck. Oh, there's Campo. Chip coming from Lynagh. Now he has a chance for Timmy Horan, but David Lougheed's got the pace to get back. Well, that was good pressure in the opening minutes from Australia.
Yes, nice pressure from Australia, and that little play will do Tim Horan's confidence the world of good. He's made a tackle, he's back in this game. Good phase ball by the Aussies though. They kept it in hand, and that's what they've got to do if they want to win this game. They've got to take it by the neck, control possession, and just work away, get the ball rolling. Once that's on its way, they're hard to stop. The Juggernauts in play.
Timmy Horan, one of the great stars of Australia's triumph in the 91 Rugby World Cup. Oh, very shrill blast there from referee Patrick Robin. Interesting decision now for Australia too.
Well, they've taken the scrum instead of the penalty. They think they can get a few more than the 3. Decidedly heavier in the pack, I believe, the Australians. So let's just see how they go. It's a big test for them. The tight 5 wasn't that good against the Box.
Daly and Harthill up front, and the props as replacements in this particular match. Gavin holds at the back. Impetus coming from Australia, but that scrum wheeled slightly, and good work there from John Hutchinson for Canada. He's certainly going to have his work cut out today, is Hutchinson, but lots of foraging he needs to do. What a lucky bounce for Canada.
Well played, the Canadians. There's no doubt about that. They absorbed the pressure there. They kept their cool. If they can do that, they're certainly becoming of age as a rugby nation. Withstanding that initial pressure was obviously one of the things that they knew they would have to be confronted with. They've done it well. Yes, there's Tim Gavin here, controlling the ball. It slipped out there. Well played by the Canadians there. They've taken control when Australia thought that they would have had it.
Warwick War in the front. Impetus from those catches, and then the rolling mauls is vital. Well, Canada certainly trying all sorts of options, even if it means transgressing the laws of the game, to stem this Australian tide.
Yes, the penalty certainly favouring Australia. A little bit undisciplined, the Canadians, but that could certainly swing around. Michael Lynagh, he had a couple of kicks here yesterday. They had a walk on the field. He was striking them very cleanly. He'd like to get this one over. Again, another confidence booster. They hit the front. I think we'll see Australia keep the ball in hand and look for the tries. I'm sure they prefer to win by tries. There's no doubt about that. Here we go. He's rolling it around here, sliding it around. Just came in on the side of the ruck. You must come in from behind the ball. Number 7 there came in on the side of the ruck, and the referee, Robban, no hesitation with the penalty.
Gordon McKinnon was the man there transgressing. Well, it's early in the game, just 4 minutes gone, and Michael Lynagh's, this is his attempt, lovely camera angle. He struck that well, has Michael Lynagh. Has he got the legs? Yes, he has. Well, we're talking about confidence boosters, and that'll do, despite all that experience, there's obviously still some butterflies in Michael Lynagh's stomach, and getting that over early and from an acute angle was a sound effort from him. Rees with a restart, but that's going to go too far.
A mistake has given Australia a decided advantage here. Feed on the halfway. The ball goes out on the full, with the option of another kick or a scrum on halfway, with the feed to go to the team receiving. Australia decide to keep the ball in hand.
Slattery is always a very busy player. Matt Burke, one of the great sevens rugby players from Australia, now in the 15-man game here today.
Yes, the Australian mascot, the Wallaby, is carried around by the youngest player in the team for the entire tour, and that happens to be Joe Roff.
And it's also his first game today is Joe Roff as Lynagh hoists. Scott Stewart will come in. He's very brave on the catches, and that was wonderfully taken by him. He's got a lovely feeling out there. We saw against Romania, he took some very, very solid and difficult up and unders. Rees open side. Great running off the ball by Lynagh. And the switch again, that's good play by Roff. Taken on by Tabua. Well, full credit to Michael Lynagh there. He just read that situation so well, didn't he?
The cool head on the skipper's shoulders.
Well, quick take from him, and Campisi is inside there. Roff can't take for the second time. Huge pressure from the Australian pack. Slattery has it. Tabua, he's big and strong. Tabua, he scored. In a career so dogged with injuries, Ili Tabua back in the Australian side, and really a big, powerful man.
Yes, Ili Tabua making his Rugby World Cup debut. It's about third or fourth phase ball. Slattery picks it up. He's just too big, too strong, and he's too close to the line, almost unstoppable. That'll do his confidence the world of good as well.
Positioned himself well, got himself down. always a difficult target if you're down in a hunched position, and probably 4 Canadians going over with him.
Nicknamed Tabua, the human skewer. That's what they call him back in Australia. He had a huge series last year, the domestic internationals in Australia, and that try will certainly give him a chance, should Australia go through to the quarters, of grabbing one of those back row spots.
Michael Lynagh, one of the few men that when he goes back steps to the right, most do to the left with their goal kicking, and that's solidly through the middle. .31 minutes to go. Australia already in the lead by those 10 points, and right from the start, borne out by the words of Russell Fairfax, lots of confidence, and Australia really going at the Canadians. That early penalty that they got, looking to take the option of the scrum. One senses that the Canadians will know they've been in a match today. Rees, that's a better restart from him. Up for it, his Eels. The Canadians offside, and is that the sort of pattern that we might see as they try and stem this Australian tide?
Yes, well, there's no doubt that they've got to do that and do it soon. Australia off to a wonderful start. David Campuzzi puts the long touch finder in.
Good for Michael Lynagh, keeping Campo involved in the game too. Of course, David has played at fullback for Australia too. He's a good punter of the ball.
Yes, Campo probably has the most prodigious stick kick in the Australian team. 16, 17 metres.
Also with lots of accuracy, Daly lends a hand there. Slattery wants better possession than that. Lots of communication in the scrum, important here. This is lovely running off the ball. Now, Little has got Roff on his outside. Will this be a chance, a try? A first try for Australia for Joe Roff.
Yes, the happy man, the 19-year-old from the ACT. Nice cut-out pass here, and then the long ball from Lorne. Hiddle straight through the gap at pace. Roth positions himself perfectly, and it's a matter of pace beating him every time here. Brings it round, makes it a little bit easier for Michael Lynagh, and good stuff for the youngster from Canberra.
Well, it came from a well-timed pass from Lynagh and then to Timmy Horan, right in front of the man, and Australia have always handled the ball so competently and so well, giving space on the outside. Michael Lynagh just holding up with that kick at the moment. There's a little bit of attention. That looks like Jason Little.
Yes, he got the real solid knock when he delivered that pass. Certainly legitimate tackle, but really solid.
Jason Little's a big man, and coming down, he's down to earth. Comes down hard with that sort of tackle. But really good play by him and good release. Initially, Australia were going backwards at that maul and then got the control that they needed to allow Slattery the early release.
Almost a perfect start for the Australians. Very, very few mistakes, not unlike their first game, where the pressure from the Springboks caused an uncharacteristic play by the Aussies. But this is the Australian side that I guess we've become used to, and I guess people want to see play. Let's hope we see a few more tries like that. I'm sure we will.
Lynagh, he's got his sights set well today, has Michael Lynagh. Well, young Joe Roff then with that first try for Australia. We saw the pleasure on the face of the man. The creation came from some slick passing from his inner backs. Well taken in by Australia. Just watch how well they get momentum going after the catch with the maul. That's very good play by them. John Eales in the middle. Keeping sight of that ball for the Canadians is becoming a real effort. Well, that was number 8, Charron there on the Australian side of that ruck. But the penalty has gone to Australia, and one fancies possibly for illegal rucking.
Yes, here it is here. Both of them fighting for the ball. Yes, there's a boot there. I think it was an accident. There was no malice in that one at all. But the referee certainly right. Ordered the penalty. Canada's first chance for points.
252 points for Gareth Rees. Like Michael Lynagh, has played in every Rugby World Cup match for his country since inception in 1987. Just the 3 steps from Rees. Has he got the distance? Yes, that's a good kick from Gareth Rees. Important for Canada to try and get some points on the board while they can, because Australia seem to have found the form that they've been searching for. Taken by John Roff. Called for the mark. Canada looking to run it. Well, that's brave of them. Charron, was that pass forward? Referee says no. Taken in by Gordon McKinnon. Roff again, as he did against Romania, trying to take on the pack of forwards. Canada certainly showing some momentum in that maul. Now they'll want some sort of release to Rees. That's Rees with it now. On the inside coming in Steve Gray, but they're not getting across that advantage line, and there's all sorts of pressure. Christian Stewart does well to get through the half gap, and Rees is tackled around the neck. Well, kick taken there by Eddie Evans for us, Canada, and indiscipline from Australia.
Yes, caught unawares by the quick tap by the Canadian team. Good tactics, keeping the ball in hand. Good play by the Canadian team, just working down this right-hand touch side, keeping the ball together. Yes, out to Rees. Gareth Rees there gets a high shot on him from fullback Matt Burke. De Burke will be disappointed about that. He's normally a fairly good tackler. Normally goes low, but trying to wrap the ball up, the ball and all up. It's on a touch high. The referee, again, spot on the money.
Well, stamping his authority on the game, one senses that that was not really a dangerous tackle, but the laws are laws. And Rees would want to continue with his success. 7 points to 3, Australia lead. More importantly for them, besides the points, is they have tries on the board and they have their confidence back. Rees struck this one well too. That's off the upright. Back foot is John Eales. And then good play by David Campese. He was under enormous pressure there. Scott Stewart with the link up. Not enough Canadian forwards in support, but they comes back to them. The tap kept coming across, and that's Charron, number 8. Can Joe Roff make something of this? There was an early knock on.
Marcus, here, wait up.
Rod Snow, Eddie Evans up front against Mark Harthill and Tony Daly. Canada would want at least their own ball in the tight phases of the game as best as they can get. Christian Stewart can't take. Canada certainly looking on occasions to try and run against Australia, and that's interesting, and it's brave. Scott Stewart on the inside. Good support play coming from Christian Stewart. There's a chance for Canada. Well, that's as interesting as they come flying through. That's a thumping tackle from Phil Kearns.
Yes, using the short side well, drew David Campese in. And there was a bit of an opportunity there. Yes, Campese goes for the intercept there. Ball back inside. Yeah, big hit there by Phil Kearns, took him over the touchline.
Defence was not found wanting when it was really needed. That's Campese's punt, but it's not going to go far enough. Angle was acute. Little chat to Matt Burke there from David Campese, saying you're in a better position, get closer to me as John Eales drives through. Oh, Rod Snow with a look of amazement on his face, coming from an offside position. Campo's punt, that will not go out. Back for it was Gordon McKinnon. He took that inside his half, or outside his goal line, and good recovery work there by the flank forward.
Number 1, keep your back. SHI 25. KHL 28. KHL 28.
25 was the call, then it became 28. Will that be Warwick War? Mark Eales, it's a great, John Eales, that's a great jump by Australia. Plenty of action from the Australian pack. Tabua right in the middle of that, offering Gawi. Some awesome work from the forwards, and now the chance for the backs. Good flick down the line. Roff back to Jason Little. He's strong on his feet, is Jason Little. Slattery, was that the right option? Harassed there by Scott Stewart from the back. Well, Phil Kearns is blown up there for throwing a punch at one of the Canadians.
Now going to be cautioned by referee Robban. Peter Slattery off the bottom of that ruck.
Well, Phil Kearns was the culprit on that occasion, and Peter Slattery, who'd got scragged by one of the Canadians, possibly that was a byproduct of that. Always a very committed man is Phil Kearns. Carl Svoboda, his first match on South African soil. Great ball once again for Australia as Warwick War goes in. Important for Australia as they're operating under the proverbial blanket as 8 forwards together, and then one man standing off this time, Tabua once again. Well, Russell, I don't think it's that easy to go through a match having to defend as much as the Canadians are doing at the moment.
You're spot on there, Gavin. Australia's had most of the ball. They've enjoyed the territory, and they're disappointed about that little bit of play. Third phase, they're hoping to just continue the roll on, continue to draw the Canadians' backs in, make room for their own backs. A knock-on, a simple knock-on like that, might help their case.
Some respite for Canada. Gareth Rees. Back foot is Matt Burke. Well positioned was Matt Burke. Scott Stewart, he loves running to Scott Stewart. Just looks around, doesn't find too much support there for him. Australia playing with a slight wind at their back. But they've handled these first 20 minutes of the first half extremely well with those 2 tries. Good solid performance, which we were expecting from Australia. Tabua at the back. Line-out expertise stretching further than Warwick War and John Eales. Timmy Horan comes back. Great to have him back on the rugby field. Slattery. Campese worked his way across. Keeps that ball available. Good play by Campese. Liner's little switch. Joe Roff, he's had plenty of work to do in these first 20 minutes. Slattery. An awesome tide and a charge of the Light Brigade from the Australian pack of forwards.
Yes, big Warwick War, the Randwick second rower, over the ball. They're diving over the ball, killing possession. Referee Patrick Robban had no option but to penalise. They'll be disappointing again this train. Some fundamental mistakes starting to creep into their game.
Most of the Canadian pack standing with their hands on their knees. There's plenty of pressure on them.
Come on, fellas.
Yes, here we go. Here they come. Over the top here. There goes Warwick War. You see him? Yes, right over the ball then, killing the ball. Canadians very slow to get back around now on support. They're hanging on. But how long can they hang on for?
That is the question. That's a big jump in the front by Mike James. Well, the game continues despite the injury from that jump in the line out. Back for Slattery. Matt Burke does well, get some pace as he works his way back towards the forwards. That's the platform that Australia want. Big tackle there on Michael Lynagh. Now this is a race with David Lougheed, who's really, really quick. Great recovery from Jason Little. Campese. Australians have regrouped so well, all getting back in numbers to lend support. And what a wonderful punt that from Joe Roff.
There's Jason Little, 24 years of age. 35 tests for Australia. It's his second World Cup, 7th game in World Cup, and whilst he scored 4 tries, that was a bit of class defence. Back, on the ball, up and away he went. That's fantastic stuff.
Hasn't played too many bad tests for Australia, has Jason Little. Most of them, of course, with young Timmy Horan, but that's Peter Slattery down at the moment. One of the Canadians also being attended to. Well, Peter Slattery, important for Australia's cause that he stays on the field too, and he's a nuggety young man.
It's his first test since playing the Irish back in 1994. George Gregan, who made that fabulous tackle against the All Blacks, has taken his role. This is Slats' chance.
Well, Canada lifting in the line out, and that will be a free kick to Australia. Will they bring their forwards into play again? Maybe this will be a huge up and under from Michael Lynagh. Bring the forwards into play again. Jason Little gets up there quickly. Remember, he's a tall man. Does extremely well with a tap down. Now this is Campese. Just seems to waltz past a few players. Great chance for Australia, but Peter Slattery just hindered around the side of that scrum. Referee lets them go. Well taken by Horan. Back inside to Kearns. Thumping tackle from Scott Stewart on Jason Little, and there's perhaps not enough rhythm as the players went through.
The ball goes to Jason Little. Super tackle there, hits him very hard. Australia perhaps a little bit too expansive at this stage. They need to tighten it up and maintain the control. They certainly had that all over the Canadians, and they're falling into a bit of a trap here.
John Eales at the back of the line out. Lots of harassing coming from the Canadians. That's Rod Snow. Interesting that Canada have chosen in this first half an hour of the match, on the few occasions that they've had the ball, to move it down the back line, or whoever was on the outside. But look at the rucks and mauls belonging to Australia, and the line-outs, well, with no reply. So outstanding platform in the tight and the rucks and mauls for the Wallabies.
Possession like that, though, hardly reflects the scorecard. You think Australia, with all that ball, may have been a little bit further ahead. I would suggest to you that the Canadian side, for the last perhaps 10 minutes of the game, certainly held their own. They've been under pressure, but they've been able to keep Australia trialless, and that will do wonders for their confidence. They need now to try and play some football in Australia's half. I'm sure if they get down there, it'll be Australia's turn to feel the heat.
Well, Canada have spread themselves in terms of defence as well, and very often it's difficult to play against a team spread across the field. Australia will want to suck those forwards in and look to launch with those explosive backs.
Warwick War there, a shoulder injury for Warwick War. Looks like he hurt his neck when he came in to make that tackle. He went down very quickly, but Greg Craig, the Australian physio there, works wonders with the players. He has him back up, and I guess the Australians' approach will be, if I'm not off on a stretcher, I'm on this game for the full 80 minutes.
Well, so much to play for all the all those Australian players to get through to the Rugby World Cup final. That's the object of all the players, and opportunities exist for every man on the park. John Groff with a feed. That's Charron at the back. Well, he runs straight into Ngawi, and there's only one man that's going to come off best then. Tim Gavin lending some support. Christian Stewart can't control. That was good recovery work from him. Now this is a good run by the Canadians. There is an opportunity for them. Can they make something of this? Scott Stewart. Australia regrouping in numbers at the back. David Lougheed. Good play by John Groff. The finishing touches are what's needed now. Well, that penalty is being given for Australia being in an offside position.
Jason Little missed the tackle but got back to recover. Yeah, great play. Yeah, nice long ball here, bit of a spill. Puts Jason Little out of the line, recovers very well. Oh, super ball there. Inside. There goes Rees. He offloads. Campese coming across in cover. Be plenty of chat there by the Australians right now. Yes, wrapped up. Very slow to get there. The Canadians in there with numbers. Phil Kearns obviously almost offside then as well. The referee had no option, but once the play was stopped, they give the Canadians a free kick. And the way he's kicking, I can tell you, I think he could throw this one over.
Well, heartening then for the Canadians to have got through there. That move started by Christian Stewart, but interesting that the Australians just got back really in numbers there and regrouped very well on defence. Seemingly Canada will take the few opportunities that exist for them and run with the ball, run at the opposition. 17 points to 3, Australia lead, 1 half an hour gone. Rees just the little tap through, he turns that safely through. Well, in the background we hear the train whistle. There's a train on the open stand, and every time there's a point scored, somebody pulls that whistle. Lynagh always pinpoint with those kick-ins. Well taken by Canada. Patrick Robin indicating that there was a knock-on from Canada when it was not visible to us. Solid scrum. Gavin can pull himself away, then Ngawi comes through. Slattery's pass to Gavin. Australia intent and looking to drive through 3 or 4 times, suck the opposition in, and then run it down the back line. Joe Roff comes through but can't hold. Good support play there from scrum half John Graff for Canada, and Australia just making the odd mistake. They've got their move set up, and some tigerish defence from Canada.
Australia becoming a little bit too fancy. They get back to the basics, maintain possession. I think that'll help their cause better than trying to score off every time that they have the ball.
John Eales has so often been seen with a big jump in the middle of the line out for Australia. The Canadians pulling down or trying to collapse that maul, and that's perhaps one of the few options they have, because Australia have really done so well from the line-outs and also in those driving mauls. Well, interesting that Campese has had four kicks down that touchline on the right-hand side and kicked with great accuracy, Russell.
Yes, the ball's coming off his boot exceptionally well. They're holding at the back there. Tabua holding at the back there. As he turns to bring it around, they're pulled down. The Canadians are pulling him down. You can't do that. That's against the rules of rugby.
Eales once again with a catch. Enormous amount of communication amongst the Australian forwards. Switch around, that was sleight of hand. Matt Burke taken in there by Gordon McKinnon. Well, Carl Svoboda, the hooker of Canada, came in from the side of that maul, remembering that you need to come in from behind the feet of the last man. Russell, you spoke about Michael Lynagh having practiced yesterday and got his kicking right, and certainly he's striking the ball well today. His rhythm looks good.
Yes, he had some minor problems. I guess his kicking style is much like a golf swing, with the rhythm and the pendulum of a golf swing. That's how Michael tends to kick. Strikes the ball a little bit crossways, but he's been right behind this ball, and they are flying off his boot as true as I guess he could hope, especially in today's game. I don't think he's missed a kick. 2 conversions and a penalty goal, and a chance now to grab a second penalty goal from about 32 to 35 metres out, almost directly in front.
Well, his kicking form was not that great against Argentina, and he'll be pleased that he's getting it back again.
Yes, quite easy to see there. The maul was formed, and coming from the side next to the referee, had a perfect shot, perfect vision of what happened, and no hesitation.
The characteristic 4 steps back, 1 to the right. Follows that same procedure, regardless of the simplicity of the kick from Michael Lynagh. That looks like it's safely through. Ten points in the match then for Michael Lynagh to go with those tries from Tabua and Joe Roff.
Just 5 minutes short of half-time, and Australia, I would guess, would be delighted with the scoreline. They still need to work on aspects of their play that they wouldn't be happy with, but scoreline-wise, Bob Dwyer will have a smile on his face.
20 points to 6 Australia lead. Canada certainly not getting a lot of ball in this match, but showing lots of courage and conviction for their country. Big Warwick War, he's on his feet again after that injury. Solid front row there of Daly, Kearns and Hartill. That's Charron's pick-up. Switch inside to McKinnon. Now, what does Gareth Rees do? Well, they're certainly looking to run us on every available opportunity, are Canada. Graf. The pass on the outside. Now, can Canada move this swiftly enough? It was good defensive work that by Joe Roff. He stood wide, and then Matt Burke with the saving. Canada really needed a man running in straight on Joe Roff to create the space on the outside. This is Gareth Rees with plenty of time. Looks left and he looks right. Chooses Campese, the best punter in the team. It's not a great kick from Campese. Now Scott Stewart, will he look to open up? Tight against the touchline. Taken by Mark Hartill. Australia really get there quickly to lend support to the front ranker. Tabua, a suicidal pass to him.
Yes, right on the game line there. Wasn't much chance for Illy at that stage. It was just make sure he wrapped up possession. Don't worry about your own personal safety, because it was certainly on the line there. I'm glad it was him and not me, I can tell you, Gavin.
Advance for the cause of Australia. Well, Tambua's cause, of course, is to regain a test spot as well, which will be a rather difficult job for him, but men create opportunities on the field. Run around there from John Hutchinson. The real tigers are the Canadian side.
Yes, they're a very physical side, aren't they? They do like to play the physical game. I know there's a few sore Aussies out there. I expect there would be some big hits.
Well, David Lougheed has stayed on his feet going down the left-hand touchline, and perhaps Australia did not expect a Canadian onslaught in terms of ball being moved from hand to hand after their match against Romania last week, where there was a lot of kicking. today they've chosen to move the ball around in an entertaining fashion.
Yes, they're adventurous play, there's no doubt about that. They are not overawed by the Australians. They're doing their own thing and doing it very well.
A little bit of pressure coming from them, and then back it goes to Campese with the left foot. Limited opportunities today for Campese. Most of the balls have moved down to Joe Roff's left wing position.
90 tests for David Campese, the most senior player in the side at 32 years of age. His third World Cup.
That was a thumping tackle from Ngawi. Canada keep coming though. They are physical and they prepare to take Australia on. Scott Stewart, Christian Stewart, back to Scott Stewart again. Matt Burke. Well, perhaps just in the moment critique, Canada have been found wanting. There was a knock-on coming from John Graf on that occasion.
They're looking good though, the Canadians, certainly looking good. They're starting to put some phase ball together now, and they're putting it to the Aussies. It's up to the Australians now to withstand the pressure.
Michael Lynagh also not finding touch, one of the basics that Australia would want to do a little bit better. Scott Stewart. Canadians not getting back in numbers to assist the counter-attacker. There's a chance for Campese and Timmy Horan. They just interplay so well, don't they? And then Horan's chip kick through. Such a busy player, Timmy Horan.
Yes, he certainly is. Built to be a footballer. Nuggety, very solid, very quick, good lateral movement either way, and what a brain. The man has vision. I'd like to see him get more involved here in the Australian side. They need a player of his vision to move the ball outside wide. They've got to get the ball to Campese, and as we saw from Joe Roff today, give him the ball, he can score a try.
Well, I'm sure Campese himself has asked for the ball, and if he doesn't get it, he's going to go and find it. Hutchinson in the pickup there from Gareth Rowlands. This is Rod Snow.
Slow to regroup the Australians. It's all Canada right now.
Rod Snow again, the first try scorer for Canada in Rugby World Cup, and Australia were offsides. Also another brave attempt. Eddie Evans with a take there. Canada, there's no point in kicking it out if they're not going to win line-out ball, so they'll keep it in hand.
Tim Gavin working tirelessly in the rucks. Super player. I coach back in Australia, Eastern Suburbs Rugby, and he is one of my boys.
Well, Campese has got himself into the game just as we were talking, and Ngawi through. This is good ball for Australia if they can get it early. The Canadians stopping that ball coming out, so penalty going Australia's way, and will Michael Lynagh kick for goal, or Australia look for a forward onslaught?
Super bit of play by David Campese to set that up. Been a number of tackles down that right-hand flank. Unfortunately, Big Willie O. He's had a knee problem this year, as you can see, well bandaged there. He's certainly feeling the pinch. The ball's there to come out. There's that hand. You can see the red hand on the ball. Fortunately killing the pill, and as I said, the referee spot on with his call so far today. Big tackle off Ngawi there. He's a tough man to tackle, all 18 stone of him. I guess that makes it hard in anyone's language, especially when he can run like a steam train that he does.
Well, that was like a lion jumping on the back of a buffalo and hauling him in. Well, Willie O is going to leave the field, albeit maybe temporarily. There was the drive-through, maybe just came down a little heavily on that left knee of his.
Ooh, heavy knock on the head too. Came down on the head.
That's the Australian coach, Bob Dwyer, with that magnificent record. 65 games he's been in charge of Australia, and 42 have been won. Lynagh's kicking form has been quite splendid. Converted both tries and the 2 penalty goals. Test career record, of course, puts him in the #1 spot in the world. Great servant for Australia, having played some of his rugby in the centre position as well during the time of Mark Ella.
Second only to Grant Fox in Rugby World Cup point scoring history. He's up until this game, it was 161 points. 2 penalty goals and 2 conversions. We'll see that go up today. Can he add to it?
As he got the legs, Michael Lynagh just shaves the right hand upright. Well, that's the half-time whistle then, with Australia leading Canada by 20 points to 6. 2 super... Well, he's either nervous or he's darn annoyed, is Bob Dwyer. But Canada in picture, that's Gareth Rees just having a little chat to the referee, Patrick Robin from France. And Canada will be pleased with that performance in the first half, remembering too that they were quarter-finalists in Rugby World Cup 91, losing against New Zealand by 29 points to 13. So relative newcomers to the world stage, they've certainly done extremely well in the World Cups that they've been involved in. And this continues in this particular match against Australia. Warwick War with a catch. Australia starting the second half well once again. Those catches in the line out, all from general play. They've got the mauls going towards the opposition line. Oh, for the second time in the match, Canada are penalised for collapsing the maul.
Yes, John Hutchison took the ball down, and Australia had marched the ball about the rolling mauls, about 20 metres. Quite a good effort by the Australians. Eli Tabua there to seek some medical attention on his left knee. Here it is now. Australia rolling it forward. Number 6 gets himself in an offside position. Fighting through the ruck, there it is. He's got his hands on the ball, drags it down, kills the play.
Campese looking to run from his 22. He came away from that remarkably well, did Campese. The move came from a poor kick from Australia and another poor one from Canada. That was a forward pass to Tim Gavin.
From Tim to Tim. Tim Gavin to Tim Horn. The ball went so small, but it went forward. The referee pulled it up.
Patrick Robin done well in this match. Very shrill blast on the whistle when there's been a transgression of the laws.
It looks as though he has the respect of the players out there. No one's questioning any decisions.
Number 8's offset. Watch it. Watch it.
Well, the scrum was collapsed there by Rod Snow, so a penalty will go Australia's way, and David Campese. He'll want a more accurate kick this time. Last one not finding itself in touch. This one neither. That's taken by Gordon McKinnon. He confidently runs out of his 22. Punch to Matt Burke. Big hoist from Burke. I haven't seen one of those hoists from Australia for a little while. Just helps to bring the forwards back into play, but it's Canada that come away with it. Rees, as Russell Fairfax suggested, looking to kick in the second half. This is Campese. Good confident kick with the left foot.
Yes, we see a lot of kicking from the Canadians. Rees in particular has a fine boot, a fine long boot. And they'll be looking to keep Australia pinned down in their own territory. I'm surprised that Australia doesn't regroup quicker and decide to run the ball, they'd have had ample opportunity to go open side of the kick.
Well, not enough players back there to help Campese in his cause. Well taken at the back by John Hutchinson. He's a tall man. Canada looking to take Australia on right up front. That was good ball, which could have possibly moved wider. Can John Groff get that out? Rees. Switch on the inside to Christian Stewart. Canada, just a little bit of over-elaboration. That was not a knock-on, according to the referee. Well, he's changed that, sorry. He had indicated that it did, in fact, go forward. So Peter Slattery will have the put-in. Now, what does Michael Lynagh do if he gets this ball? Is it an open side kick? No, it's a run. This is Charron. Straightens the line normally so well, does Charron. That's Slattery in a bit of trouble. He recovers well. Phil Kearns. Well, that's some of the dangers one fancies for Australia, is having Canadians standing off the rucks and mauls, and Australia not able to get enough penetration with the men standing off.
Yeah, good point, Gav. I think Australia needs to be tighter. They need to keep it very, very tight. The looser they get, the more it suits the Canadians. No doubt Bob Dwyer will be getting a message out about that.
The desire from Canada, though, continues, and looking to keep moving the ball down the line. Tap kick for David Lougheed, and David Campese gets thrust in the back.
He's the benchmark, Campo, isn't he? Everyone tests themselves on David Campese, and they get the better of him. Well, they've had a good game. I guess it's tough being the best gunfighter in town. You're always on the job.
Well, those pistols have always worked well from his hips. Barging in the line out from Canada. Well, they've been penalised on an enormous number of occasions, have they? And most of them, of course, have been inside their own half of the field. So there's some discipline within that. But this is David Lougheed. Very quick runner is David Lougheed. Campese cleans himself up so well. Scott Stewart back for it. Scott Stewart, there's a call from the far side from Gareth Rees, and he's in a better position. Good reading of the game by Michael Lynagh. Started moving himself back early in sense of that kick. All not finding touch again from Australia. Scott Stewart through Al-Jaran. Canada managing to get their forwards to the breakdowns in relative numbers, but they certainly are not able to bridge that advantage line close in. Australia's defensive pattern inhibiting that. Tim Gavin, Wulafa Ngawi and Ili Tambu have been very powerful in that area of the game.
Australia's kicking game sadly astray at the moment. Not only David Campese failing to find touch from, I think, 3 penalties now, but also in general play. Matt Burke, the fullback, who's injured right now, who's seeking some attention, also failing to find touch. That would be a worrying aspect for Bob Dwyer. As we see Burke down now, looks like it's his right knee that's causing him problems. Came in to make a big tackle and came off second best. Obviously looking to see if there's some movement around the knee joint. Any major damage. Let's keep our fingers crossed that no player in the Rugby World Cup gets a serious injury. Here it is. There's big tackle. I would almost think that knee met knee there. And Matt Burke's come off second best.
Little breather for both sides. Perhaps the Canadians need it more than the Australians, but psychologically Australia will want to perform the basics a little bit better than they've done in the first half. Slattery's feed, Kearns' foot, Gavin's feed. Michael Lynagh just managing to slip that one out.
Even that one was very close to not going out, Gavin. It's surprising the Australians. They should be shortening the distance. not being so greedy.
The Rugby World Cup has been a success thus far for the line-out men of Australia, but it's Canada that come away with it. Graf's feed to Rees. Christian Stewart looking to try and punch his way past Jason Little, David Lougheed. He'll need a little bit more space than that, will David Lougheed. Rod Snow takes. A lot of people will be surprised with the amount of possession that Canada have managed to wrest in this match. Desperate efforts there from Tim Gavin to keep that ball on Australia's side. Canadians pushing a few of the forwards out into the backs, but once again bridging the advantage line is not an easy task for them. Turn around for Slattery. It's a good kick from Michael Lynagh. Now David Lougheed will want to try and just make sure that he gets out there, because Campisi, Offerengawi right on his toes. Quick throw in there from Jason Little. Well, the free kick has been given for deliberately handing the ball down, and Slattery takes the short one to Warwick Wall. Behind the line, says referee Patrick Robin. Well, this is almost a carbon copy of what happened in the far corner, where Australia were delayed the opportunity of a quick tap and a belt from the forwards.
It's Peter Slattery there down. A handy rest for both teams here, and a chance for the Canadian side to get their defence in order.
Seemingly the second time that Peter Slattery has been treated for some pain around the chest, and it will have been from that big tackle on him in the first half.
Yeah. Chest rib area, they might have hurt a rib there. They don't miss out there, the Canadians, when they make a tackle. Looks like we have a problem with the contact lens. Peter Slattery, it's taken. Yes, I think it's from his own player. Warwick Wall came over. I think he might have copped the knee from Warwick Wall, the Galagam bone giant. That's Warwick Wall's nickname.
Well, the man on the other side was Big Rod Snow, so it was a real sandwich for Peter Slattery, and he makes a slice of cheese in the middle, doesn't he? Well, what will it be now? Slattery, Gavin Wafrengawi, Tabua.
Hold it, Gavin.
Signal from the referee from a knock-on by Australia.
Australia knocking off on the job there. They had the ball in control. A little bit loose. A complacency perhaps.
Well, this is a big scrum for Canada. They're going to have to try and stand them in there. Perhaps an 8-man coming from Australia. I want to make amends for that knock-on. Good switch. Just look at the powerful scrum from Australia. Graf manages to get it and then back to Rees. Now, what does Campisi do with this one? It's the step from him, and then Matt Burke. It's a good up and under from Matt Burke. Big jump coming from Tim Gavin. Well, the Canadians penalised on that occasion for killing the ball, going over the top.
Yes. Not sure who that is. I think it could be the scrum half, John Graf. Yes, it is. With Michael Lynagh, great take by Michael Lynagh. Al Charron has come over the ball there and absolutely killed it. There was no chance of that coming out.
Well, Lynagh's called for the short one. He's not going to kick it goal. Touch to him and then on to Offerengawi. That was a great tackle on Offerengawi. Cross to Mark Harthill. Now Australia would really just want to suck in as many players as they can. Scrum attacker's ball.
Fully off then, Galway is injured. Just to the left here, that's Mark Harthill getting up. Last man with the ball in his hand. I think the Australians are isolating themselves there, moving away from their power base. I'd like to see them go run a little bit straighter, take the opposition on, keep it tight.
Well, regrouping opportunities for both sides. John Eales in the background. A little chat to the rest of his forwards about the job that needs to be done. Mark Hartill also got up rather slowly, but Wuliafa and Ngawi is the man being treated.
Take it away from him. Take it away from him, guys.
The big question now is, with the put-in, can Australia push the Canadians back over their line? They have the weight advantage, they have the skill and the technique. Tim Gavin at the back. Tim Gavin holds. The push comes from Australia.
Yes, I think Australia, again, too fancy. Just keep the ball at the back of the scrum, take the scrum over the line, away you go.
One would have sensed that that opportunity existed for Tim Gavin. Roff. A real shambles in that scrum as it goes through the 90 degrees. All indications from the referee that it's yellow ball, so let's see what Australia do now. Territorially, everything going Australia's way in the first half. Second half, a little bit more pressure. Gavin with a hold. Can they keep that scrum straight? The Canadians have collapsed that scrum, seemingly.
I would imagine Australia will take another scrum here. They'll keep working, they'll keep the pressure on. Tony Daly, last man to his feet, holding the back of his head. There must be some pressure in those scrums.
Let's go!
Well, I sense that maybe some of the Canadian front row saying, oh no, not again. Well, down they've got to go. Eddie Evans on the near side for Canada, can't keep it up. Slattery and Lynagh switch, beautiful switch to Campisi. That was a double switch and great running by the right wing. Can he stay on his feet? Well, this is a lovely platform for Australia. Offer Ngawi picks up. Can Offer Ngawi get over? Slattery with a third occasion. It's Michael Lynagh. You can only absorb so much pressure, and some great thrusts from the Australian team.
Here they are, a couple of metres out. Wuliafa Ngawi takes it, spins around. 3 defenders to hold him out. He just doesn't quite get there. Peter Slattery gets in there. Michael Lynagh in position, and it just straight through a very simple tackle there. I'm quite surprised. The arm was Scott Stewart. Found it difficult to get him. Actually, it wasn't Scott Stewart. Steve Gray missed the tackle, unfortunately, and just too easy for Michael Lynagh. That's his second try in 2 games, and the first points in the second half.
Well, there's we see the Australian prop Ian McKenzie down on the touchline. Possibly going to be a replacement in this match for Mark Hartill, one senses, who's down there at the moment. He's not looking happy at all.
No, it's his first test since 1989. It's been a long wait for Mark Hartill. I'm sure he wouldn't like to be coming off, but he did look distressed as Michael Lynagh lines up for his 5th shot at goal. And so far, he's only missed 1, that's right. Late in the first half.
The rhythm is back. The strength in the boot, the concentration, the focus. 2 steps, 3 steps forward, and that's safely through. 3 tries, 3 conversions from Lynagh. Not easy coming onto the field as a replacement, but Australia then 22 points the difference. Thumping tackle on Tabua. Slattery with a knock-on. Well, on 3 occasions that I've picked up in this match, one senses that Peter Slattery has not had the support and protection from the men close to him in the rucks and mauls and those scrums.
It's a little bit sloppy, certainly for Peter Slattery's standards at the back of the rucks and mauls today. But what about that tackle? I'm sure Tabua feels the heat, and I guess Slattery's been a little bit injured, and that may have also put him off his game.
Well, Russell, it could well be some problem in the rib cage for Peter Slattery. Third occasion now that he goes down.
Peter Slattery's a Queenslander, a tough young little player. He's not big by any measures, but the heart is enormous. He's played over 100 games in succession for his Queensland side, so you know, he would be feeling the heat right now.
Well, he's hanging in. It's a quick call from his fellow players. Slats, keep an eye on them. Roff with a pick-up, and then the referee gets in the way. Well, the Canadians will not be very happy with that. Least of all, Scott Stewart throws his arms up.
Mark Hartel doesn't look to be in a very good way. Looks like he's in a great deal of pain.
Pick up at the back by Charron. Good passing by the Canadians, and then a head-eye tackle there on Steve Gray. Once again, Canada getting possession. Well, Australia were in an offside position. That was Phil Kearns. Quick take there by Gareth Rees. Can they spread it quickly enough? Carl Svoboda taken on by Mike James. Lots of indiscipline there from both teams, but Canada will once again look to run it. Great passing from them. David Lougheed. Not too many men get past David Campese. Canada clean up well and then take through. Well, plenty of action from Canada. That's how close we are to the Australian line. Canada have not been able to bridge it. Just the 2 penalty goals from Rees, and once again good jumping from Eales. He couldn't hold on though.
Peter Slattery cleans up the ball, tap down, two-handed tap down. Australians gone for the percentages, thought they'd just force it. Canadians now have a scrum 5 metres from the Australian line. It's the Aussies' turn, the Wallabies' turn to feel it.
Ewan McKenzie on the field then for Mark Hartel. So fresh pair of legs in the front row for Australia. Canada will want possession. Titanic struggle going on in the front. That's Gordon McKinnon with it. The physical side are the Canadians. John Graf, Gareth Rees, good quick swift passing from them. Then Christian Stewart into the middle. Well, Australia were offside, so Canada have the penalty option. The big question is, are they going to take Australia on? Yes, they are. Graf back inside to Gareth Rowlands. Graf himself looking to try and go through. Seemingly no way through that Australian defence. Still the big push comes from them. Canada looking to make it available. Well, it'll be a scrum attacker's ball.
Watching there, no one's moving from their seats. Everyone wants to see this. They want to see this. The Canadians going to try. They're doing their best to get one.
Well, they've got in close on a number of occasions and then just haven't managed to get over the line. Some great tackling by the Australian loose forwards in particular. Oh, Russell, there were cheers and boos from the crowd, so supporters for both sides.
Yes. Australia has the advantage there, scrums in the opponent's 22. But it's been all Canada for the last 5 or 6 minutes. They've been camped up in Australian territory. Can the Australians get themselves out of jail?
Slattery will look for Burkney, looks for Campese on this occasion. That's a huge punt from Campese. Once again, not going out. Lougheed, Stewart, other Stewart. Too much lateral movement by the Canadians.
Great pick up there by Willie off hand Galway.
Well, not too much room to move on the close side, but Australia did well to turn that over. Quick throw in by Canada. Christian Stewart almost caught unawares, and then it's Winston Stanley. Australia robbing them of possession, and then Jason Little is the man going in. Play certainly getting a little loose for Australia's liking, probably. Tabua. Only takes 3 or 4 men to bring down the big man. Well, Tabua will be disappointed that he didn't get close in support from his fellow players and was forced almost to hold on to that ball. No retreat from Australia, and Russell, the indiscipline continues.
Yes, the linesman's on. I'm unsure what this one's for. Very first time that the linesman's been on. So it's obviously a serious offence. Jason Little is down in back play, and that's where the linesman is pointing to. Calling, looks like he's going to call out the Australian players, calling out the Australian captain, Michael Lynagh. And Phil Kearns. Phil Kearns has already had one caution for a punch in the first half. And the referee is speaking to him on his last warning, I would imagine. Any more problems and he'll be off.
Well, just the one warning then given to Phil Kearns as Canada storm ahead. Matt Burke with the stop there. Will this breathe some fresh legs into the Canadian team? They've moved the ball very quickly down the line. They haven't always managed to bridge that advantage line, though. Tim Horan expanding on that high work rate of his. Roff. Not too sure what to do with it. There's Gareth Rowlands. Roff, long one out to Al Charron. And then Winston Stanley. Canada must almost be wondering when they're ever going to get through this Australian backline, if at all.
Good passage of play there for Canada. Held the ball, they ran out of options over there. They needed to set, reform, and just go straight up again. Fortunately, they're trying to move the ball a little bit too much. A problem the Australians have right now as well.
Well, the problem exists for Canada because if they get rid of it and kick it downfield or kick it into touch, they haven't been winning the lineouts, so that puts more pressure on them. But it's Lynagh who fails to find touch. The switch around to Winston Stanley. That was good play by the Canadians. Lots of enterprise and lots of courage from the men from Canada. Australia would perhaps have been hoping for a greater cushion than that, but more importantly for them, they needed to get their game together. Fluency has only been seen in dribs and drabs as Gareth Rees goes on the inside. John Groff has got an enormous amount of possession of late as John Eales comes through. Good timing from John Eales. Taken on by Gareth Rowlands. Has caught his own players unawares there as he went bursting through. Taken on by McKinnon. Seemingly no way through. That's Winston Stanley and Carlson Boda. Can they stretch it now? Can they stretch it wide enough? Rod Snow, the last man to come in, and the first scorer for Canada in Rugby World Cup 95. Well, this time it's Australia that are penalised for deliberately collapsing that maul. Referee Rob Burns saying you can't play yet. Well, that delay will allow Australia to regroup somewhat. Well, it's penalties aplenty here, Russell.
Yes, Michael Lynagh played out while he was off the ball, but you've got to take your hat off to Canada. This is the way people want to see World Cup rugby played. They want to see the ball in hand, they want to see people running, not kicking. And if you're a fan of rugby out there, you've just got to be applauding these Canadians. They're doing a fantastic job. The world champions, well, not being phased by them, that's for sure.
Their woes continue with their line kicking in the second half. That's David Lougheed. Ewan McKenzie picks that up. Then Slattery, not really going that deep from Peter Slattery as Scott Stewart picks up. Can Canada keep it available, or it comes out Australia's side? Disruption for Australia, and then pick up from Jason Little. Well, the referees let them keep going now. Can Jason Little make something of this? He's big and strong. Well, a penalty there has been given. One fancies against John Eales for deliberately pushing against a man. Well, that's Winston Stanley. There's action aplenty here at the Boet Erasmus. Now, can Canada make something of this? Timmy Horan comes across to recover for Australia. Michael Lynagh. Slattery again. Well, that ball was played on the ground by the Canadians. Eddie Evans playing in his 30th match for his country.
Bob Dwyer on the sideline there. They're getting concerned. Yes. Stats are starting to favour the Reds. Starting to go well there. And with the ball, any side can win the match. But wasn't it a super run by Winston Stanley there? Wrong-footed Joe Roff and made plenty of space and didn't have some support there. Bit of Slattery out to Michael Lynagh. Almost a high shot here, but not too bad. Lynagh plays the ball back, gets rid of it. Slattery has it. Surprised at the penalty. I thought it should have been. The referee should have let that flow.
One fancies that there's an injury to Gareth Rowlands and maybe even Phil Kearns.
Yes, looks like a shoulder injury for Phil Kearns. Left shoulder. He has had a problem with that shoulder in the past. He will be replaced. And that'll be the chance for Michael Foley to make his debut for Australia should Phil Kearns leave the field. Yes, here he is, number 21. Michael Foley, as you'd imagine, his nickname is Axel.
Well, a great chance then for him. That's good play by Michael Lynagh with a switch around. Now can Horan make something of this for Joe Roff? He's got pace and he's got power. Kick inside favours John Graf. He's been a busy player today, has John Graf for Canada. Not a very big man, but lots of courage. Back to Gareth Rees. It was all defence there for Canada. They could not run out of their own 22 with tight defence from Australia. Well, disappointing there for Gareth Rowlands leaving the field and being replaced by Glenn Ennis. Rowlands was brought into this team to lend a bit of impetus in the line-outs. Unfortunately, he's had to leave the field, as has Phil Kearns.
Michael Foley, his throw-ins to the line-out are excellent, let me tell you. He hits the money every time. That may be the little edge, if there is any, that he has over Phil Kearns.
Well, such an important factor, but Australia will be concerned if Phil Kearns has an injury of some proportion. Foley waiting in the wings, gets his opportunity. Well, that's two men in the front row that have changed. That's Phil Kearns.
Should be upset about having to come off the paddock. He does not like to leave the field.
Picked up the back by Gavin, and then on the inside to Tabua. John Eales, such a lovely ball player is John Eales. Slattery, despite the injury attention, still prepared to physically take on the Canadians is Peter Slattery.
The replacement on the Australian side for the physical clearance of the field needs to be replaced by Michael Foley.
Well, what does John Graf do with it now? Once again in their 22, Gareth Rees, does he have any more options other than kicking? Australia do well to turn that scrum towards the touchline, and then a bit of a lucky bounce for them, but Canada have certainly made their luck in this match, and the opportunities and the few ones that were expected grew in proportion for them. Catch by Mike James, and Graf to Rees. Campisi and Burke for it now. Will Burke look to link? No. Big up and under taken by Graf, one of the smaller men on the field. Lovely ball players, John Graf. And then Rod Snow comes away with it. He's a powerful man, is Rod Snow. That was very good timing too. Pass to David Lougheed. Snow back on his feet, but he was played without the ball. Graf taking the quick one.
Just very slow to respond.
Up to Rees and then inside to Charron. Rees again. He's still on his feet. Back it comes Australia's way. Well, that was an interesting decision because it was almost as if it was kicked back by accident, but Canada have the opportunity. They trail by 27 points to 6. It's surely an onslaught on the line, Russell.
It certainly wasn't a handball. That was just an accidental play. Referee on the other side of the ruck and maul, so it was he just couldn't see it.
Eddie Evans with a drive through. Charron and then McKinnon. They've come so close and they just haven't managed to make it. Well, there's a lot of people in this crowd that will be hoping for a Canadian try. If nothing else in this match, they've tried their guts out to get up to that line. They've got there, but never managed to get over.
He must have been closer, Gabby. The ball looked like it was resting on the line there. I mean, you've got to wish that was a try.
Well, that was the feeling of the crowd. That's Graf then with a pickup. Well, that's the picture then. It almost looked like it was over the line and dragged back. But another opportunity for the Canadian pack, and they hold up to give Graf a platform. Well, that's the pickup there from flank forward John Hutchinson. Just the 7 minutes left in this match, then Australia lead by 27 points to 6. Replacements Mark Ewan McKenzie and Michael Foley in the front row. Canada will be asking as much as possible from those 8. Charron with a pickup. This is a good drive this by John Hutchinson. Graf's pickup. One can take nothing away from Australia's defence. It's been absolutely outstanding in these positions. Offering Gawi coming in from the side of that ball. Glenn Ennis, head down. Is he over? Well, the referee was very well positioned. But the Canadians throwing their arms up, not knowing what else they've got to do to get over that line. It's almost as if this match rests on them scoring a try. There was the drive-through. Well, the try has now gone their way. Scored by Al Charron. Playing at number 8. That's his second try in the World Cup. Scored against Romania as well. That's just reward for the number 8. He's had an excellent Rugby World Cup. Been quite the pick of the Canadian forwards. Just a couple of minutes left in this match, so the scoreline of Australia's is not really going to be threatened to the point of them getting beaten. The kick from Rees is wide. 27 points to 11, then Australia lead. This was the put in from Graf, the quick pick up from Charron, and he had enough support and enough drive from his fellow players to get over. Johnny Eels coming in for Lynagh's kick. He can't catch it. Canada have it again. Once again looking to run it down the back line. They've handled impeccably at the back. Scott Stewart held up by Jason Little and Tim Horan. Gordon McKinnon coming away with a very physical player. Once again they have possession in numbers. Rees looking to go on the inside. He's still got possession. Rod Snow taken on by John Hutchinson. Canada have been all over Australia in these last few minutes. Christian Stewart finding space. Switch on the inside to Scott Stewart. Well, Slattery will want to bring back some normality for Australia, but Lynagh looks to run it. This is Timmy Horan. Now this will be an interesting race because Campisi's on his outside. Now Campisi has it. Pace, power, but he's beautifully tackled. That was a great tackle that from Winston Stanley coming across from the right wing. Great running by Campisi, but really take nothing away from Winston Stanley. Kept flying across the field. Australia's injury woes continue.